Yeah, so as Darryl said, we met as recently as this morning to try to give him a rundown on what Hawaii Electric Light's plan is. Basically, our plan is, we know how important the power is to everybody, so we want to keep power on every way possible. Any way possible we can keep the power on, that's what we want to do. If circumstances change to where we can't avoid that, then we are in the process of making contingency plans to see about actually building other lines around it. Darryl mentioned they're opening up the Beach Road. We're actually looking at that to run a new line up Beach Road, if necessary, to try to feed electricity to the subdivisions from the other side. The big concerns, other concerns that we have are our transmission lines. We have one transmission line that is probably one of the first assets that we have that'll be affected by the lava. We're working with the engineers right now to see if there's anything we can do to make sure that we can keep that transmission line in service. The problem is, as everybody knows, we don't know exactly where this lava flow is going to go, and when it gets there, exactly how wide it's going to be. All our conductors are above ground, they're on poles, so if it takes poles out, if it takes one pole out, that's normally not a big issue. We can cut that wire free, we can float it between the other two poles. If it takes two poles out, okay, but at a certain point, it just becomes where it's the sag in the wire is not going to allow us to do that. It's going to be too long of a span, and we're not going to be able to maintain that. So the big thing is going to be not only where it comes through, but how wide the front of that lava flow is when it gets there. But again, we do have contingency plans to try to work around that. There are two transmission lines feeding PGV. They need at least one of those, obviously, to keep going, and so that's a big concern to us too. Two of them is better. That would avoid more issues for them. But again, we do have as many contingencies as we can think of, and we're actively working with Civil Defense to keep us updated. Okay, so as to geothermal, again, we have two transmission lines that go in and bring power out of PGV. As long as we maintain one of those, we'll be fine. Geothermal will be fine. Without those two lines in there, if we lose both of those lines, the geothermal plant will be what we would call islanding. They would be standalone in there. For them to be able to generate power to then take up the load for that island area presents a lot of problems to them. But as Darryl and I and one of my assistant superintendents were talking about this morning, they are actively working with our production department to see if there are any alternatives, so that in the event that the lava flow was bad enough and it took both the transmission lines out and PGV was islanded, is there a way to set them up so that they can run and power that down there? Again, I don't have an answer for that right now. There's people smarter than that looking at it, than me looking at that. But they do seem to think that there is a possibility that there's something that they can do. And I'm sure as soon as they are able to come out with more information on that, you'll hear about it. But it's not, it won't be an easy thing for them to do.
And the last time the power went out, geothermal went offline, I got gassed. I need to be able to stay awake and alive to conduct business. So will I be notified this time, or should I expect to be gassed?
I get. I mean, basically, we don't control PGV. That's a separate entity from us. So the controls, safety mechanisms that PGV has in place is theirs. Again, our employees and the Hawaii Electric Light is going to do everything that they can to maintain the power to this area as best we can. And I think the recent storm has shown how dedicated and hardworking the Hawaii Electric folks are at getting the power back on and trying to maintain that. And I'm sure in this instance they'll do the same thing. But again, as far as questions to whether PGV will have some sort of a anomaly or whatever, as Hawaii Electric, I couldn't answer that. Maybe Mr. Oliveira could clarify a little better.
We have another special guest. He's got an empty chair here, Jay Ignacio. So when he comes and sits down, that's our HELCO representative, in case or our head of HELCO, rather. And we'll leave Heather Hedenshaw. Oh. The notification. And then let's get back to, I respect what you're asking, but I also want to make sure we keep it on the commercial side of things, because this is the entire business community here.
Well, one of the things with the notification, yes, we will do a better job of making sure that as soon as we're informed at Civil Defense of any upset on the operation that poses a potential for release, that we're letting the community know. And secondly, as you heard some of the discussion with the possibility of regionalizing the power and utilizing PGV as that distribution or generation and distribution source, it's also identifying what other safety measures could be in play to try to minimize that potential for a release.
Hi everybody, I'm Heather Hedenshaw, owner and principal broker of Big Island Brokers. First, I want to say thank you for coming and helping us with this trouble. We appreciate your help and we appreciate all that you've done for us. My questions relate to permitting. So we've got a lot of businesses in Pahoa that very likely are going to be impacted. I hope not, but let's be real. So the process for permitting to get a special use permit is pretty laborious and long. Is there any way that the county might consider streamlining that process so that businesses that need to relocate quickly can get up, move to a new location, and keep doing business on the other side of the flow? That's one question, is streamlining that permitting process to help small business get relocated. Two, there's going to be a lot of people probably dislocated and needing a place to live. The current home exemption states that, for people that own their homes, they get a big deduction. Is there a way that we could maybe have a short-term period of time that if somebody can open their home to a dislocated tenant or property owner into their home, that it won't disavow their homeowner's exemption, so that maybe we can get a bunch of people that have that spare bedroom or that have that back studio to be utilized during this emergency time period. And that's my two questions. My final statement is that you might have heard that insurance is not available in lava zones 1 and 2 by the regular carriers. That might be true. HPIA, the original insurance company that the Board of Realtors and our late Bob Herkes helped create, the state insurance plan, is available. We can get policies for people in lava zones 1 and 2 right now. It is totally available. If you have transactions in escrow and you've been told you can't get insurance, you can through HPIA. So, check if your insurance is being considered to be non-renewed, and you have a loan, you can get insurance through HPIA. So 2 questions and 1 statement. Thank you so much.
On the question of the permitting, that's something that's not necessarily within civil defense, but I'm going to take that back to the officials that deal with the permitting and see what latitude or flexibilities will be put into the permitting system, as you pointed out, with the possibility of people relocating businesses or considering other construction projects to deal with this situation. So I'll take that information back to our building division and the regulatory bodies within county and state.
Aloha, my name is Susie Osborne. I'm the principal of Kuokala Charter School. We're located on the Red Road between Pohiki and Kapoho. And while we've been trying to get electricity for years down there, we currently don't have, which might be a blessing, because we are solar run with backup generator. And actually, Dan, your comment made me want to come forward. So this is more of an offer than a question, because we're well positioned to be able to take care of your mobile health concerns if so is needed. Also helicopter landing pads, any of the government agencies that need to have vehicles or anything like that, we have a secure facility with 600 acres. So I just invite that opportunity.
My name is Petra Wiesenbauer, and I have a bed and breakfast in Leilani Estates. I would like to thank everybody, first of all. It's been really great to have all these updates and, daily online, but also with the meetings. It has been mentioned before that one of the concerns or the goals should be to lighten the traffic load as much as possible on the, substandard roads. And I wanted to ask you if there's a consideration by the county to maybe implement, more bus services to shuttle people to maybe a park and ride, place where somebody could park a second vehicle and then you can go and run your errands in Hilo or whatever, and then come back on the shuttle. Because I think if there could be a shuttle like every hour or something like that, it would really help to get a lot of other cars off the road.
Yes, there's been discussion not only with the impact that this lava flow could have on the existing mass transit or bus routes, but also how do we improve transportation within the areas and outside of the areas using more mass transit resources and services. And as an example, we did receive offers from one of the local tour company operators with, I want to say, at least 9 passenger vans, if not bigger, volunteering their services if and when there should be a need for these smaller passenger vehicles that have large capacity. They'll provide those services as well. So we're receiving a lot of support and offers of assistance from even the private sector, the business sector, with resources that would be of value for things like that, as improving transportation, minimizing the number of cars, but then providing for volume of traffic flow. So yes, we are looking at all of those things as it would play into this scenario.
Aloha everyone, my name is Lori Kong. I'm the owner of Aloha Lehua Cafe. And we have no control over Pele and where she's gonna go and what she's gonna take out and who she's, what she's gonna destroy here. And we're all just here worried and wondering what's the outcome of it. And my main question is, my restaurant is located next to a gas station. And I know we have a grace period, within days of evacuating before the lava reaches the highway. And I guess my question is, a concern for a lot of our business that is in shopping centers. What would be a good time frame for businesses to evacuate because of the gas stations being right there? Lava's coming on top. We don't know what's underneath. I know there's gas underneath next door to me, We don't know the heat of the temperature that can ignite the fume from the gas station. I'm family owned, operated, run with me and my children, and I told my husband, I said, this is serious. When do I evacuate, or do I evacuate? Because if the heat ignites the gas, I told my husband, you'll be left alone because here goes me and my children. Another thing is that I'm recently new in the community. I've been open for a year. We do a lot of local food, Hawaiian food. I do try to help the community as much as I can, and I know even though I'm worried about this and I have family that I have to evacuate or, come to the point of evacuation, my concern is my aloha for my restaurant needs to continue. I told my husband we need to evacuate our equipment because I need to take it home, because I need to cook at home and some way come back into the community to continue feeding the community. It ain't about money, it's about keep giving food to the people that need, giving water, ice to the people that are stuck here. So I know this is not a perfect time, but if anybody has donations or offerings, please come and see me. I have a huge property, I can store stuff, but as soon as possible that I can know, because there's a gas station, that I can remove my equipment and take it home so I can continue feeding the community, because that's what I need to do, is come back out, find a way to come back into Puna and keep feeding and helping the community.
As far as the evacuation, as I said, we'll give the community days notice. This won't be hours out, this will be days out. And just as we recognize the challenges that the farmers or ranchers have with moving livestock, we also recognize the challenges for the business community with moving wares, goods, machinery, equipment, stock, etc. So we want to give you as much time as possible. And as we rely heavily on the, forecast or analysis done by Hawaii Volcano Observatory of where the flow may go and when it may reach certain areas. So we'll keep you posted on that so that you can, one, make decisions for yourself. If you feel that we're not giving you enough time, that you need more time, you can start as soon as you feel you can and manage within your own capabilities. But definitely we're going to give you sufficient time so you can conduct an evacuation safely. We don't want people to be doing this in a very chaotic, hazardous conditions. We want to give people days notice so that it can be done safely.
Aloha, my name is Judy Wong. I'm an insurance broker and a FEMA adjuster. And I wanted to say thank you for being here and being proactive in terms of utilities and infrastructure. Thank you also, Hazel, for being here in terms of small business loans, etc. My direct question is, do we have federal representation here in terms of monetary support? We see that we just got through an event here, and unfortunately we didn't see the representation. In terms of how it was conveyed, as far as need goes, you don't see it here. Again, it's banking on the good nature of the people here to get through that event. So I'm hoping that you folks are seeking federal assistance in some way or another, because although Hazel's over here offering up great opportunities for business to prosper and continue, have business and personal clients in this district that are going to have long-term effects. So business interruption is not going to respond in terms of insurance. Where is our federal assistance? We're all taxpayers and we should get some help. And in terms of banking on people's good nature, thank you, Puna, you guys are awesome. In terms of everybody that helped and Isel, but I hope that you folks go forward in terms of seeking the federal government for assistance in the right way, not necessarily mitigation services statewide, but services to Puna directly. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Anne, and we have a construction company, and I'm just wondering if you had any recommendations on the best way to, over public communication lines, hear what's going on without having to call in, or, because I know during this storm, the NOAA station went down, and the radio stations seemed to not be tuning in so much to the status of things. If there was just a place where there was a sort of ongoing status updates on what's happening, I thought that might be helpful.
And we're looking for, again, always trying to identify as many ways of keeping the community.
Yeah, as we looked at the maps with Daryl this morning, it depends where the lots are going to go. But there is a possibility, yes, if it crosses the road, it may result in losing power to your subdivision. However, like I stated earlier, We are actively looking at alternatives to get a secondary feed in, to feed from a different way. Our hope is that we will have enough time to get that in and before it crosses the road. Obviously, there's no guarantees, but even if it did cross the road, you may be without power for a period of time until we could get that other line in. Again, it's anybody's guess as to where the line is going to go. But if it crosses the road there, then the possibility that you would lose power, yes, I would say that you would. But we are, again, we're actively looking at alternatives in the event that that happens, that we can maintain those supplies.
I know Roger wants to answer this. He's dying to answer it, but I'll take this up. I'm not exactly sure what docket you're referring to. I do know we have public hearings tomorrow evening with respect to transmission line projects that are in West Hawaii. These are indeed overhead transmission line projects. The docket doesn't pertain to the recent response to Hurricane Isel. Basically, the cost comparison between going underground and overhead is the reason why we have predominantly overhead lines. Cost of undergrounding is like 10 to 16 times more than doing it overhead. And that's primarily the reason. We can work with groups or customers if they would like to work with us and help sponsor undergrounding of lines versus overhead. That is a possibility.